The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderman Coatar. Alderwoman Rice. Alderman Gunther. Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Martin. Alderman Ornowitz. Alderwoman Murphy. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Rhodey. Alderman Kennedy. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Ogilvy. Alderman Cone. Alderman Williamson. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderwoman Navarro. President Reed.
Here.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderwoman Rice. Alderwoman Howard. Alderman Rhodey. Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Cone. Alderman Williamson. 19 present.
Quorum being present, I'll ask everyone in chambers and galleries who's able to stand to please rise for prayer. Giving all honor to God, Almighty God, source of all authority, we humbly ask guidance in our deliberations and wisdom in our conclusions. Amen. Before we get going today, I just want to bring Mary Collins up and wish her a happy birthday. Mary, please come on up. Come on up, join me in a round of applause. Happy birthday for Mary.
Thank you, Louis. I appreciate it. Thanks. Thank you.
Mary works really hard for the board, and hopefully you can enjoy your birthday weekend and get out of town. St. Raymond's homecoming. We will dispense with line item 3, introduction of honored guests. Any introduction of honored guests? Alderwoman from 27.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to honor Frederick Searcy with the Plumber and Pipe Fitters Union, please.
All right. Welcome, Fred. Alderwoman from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I'd like to have as my special guest today everyone who's up in the balcony representing Close the Workhouse campaign. Yesterday they released a 45-page report that lays out a great rationale for closing the workhouse. So thank you for your work and thanks for coming today.
Alderwoman from the 2nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to have as my honored guest former committeeman Mr. Claude Brown of the 2nd Ward.
All right, welcome, Claude. Alderwoman from the 14th.
Good morning, esteemed colleagues, and Mr. President, I'd like to recognize Joyce Roberts, candidate for the Board of Education, as a colleague, a former colleague and friend. And I'd also like to recognize Joyce Roberts. Thank you and welcome today.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Hold on for a second, Alderman. She wasn't finished. Alderman from the 14th.
I'd also like to introduce Nathan Lett from Firefighters Local 73, Clinton McBride, Laborers Local 110, and Megan Shackelford from the Kelly Group.
Well, welcome. Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I forgot last week to thank Frank Williamson, Sharon Tyus, Marlene Davis, and there's one other one that I forgot again.
That's all right.
But thank you very much.
All right. Alderman from the 13th.
Mr. President, members of the board, I would like to have as my special guest Jeff Hans from the Carpenters. He was right there a minute ago, so he's covered when he comes in. Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Alderman from the 7th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I'd like to have Keith Taylor, also from the Carpenters District Council, as my special guest.
Alderman from the 22nd.
Yes, good morning, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to have as my special guests Chris Pickle and Leroy Graham with AT&T, and Connie Johnson with the Treasurer's Office.
Alderman from the 20th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I'd like to have as my special guest today Jesse King, visitor and friend.
Any further introductions? Any further introductions? Alderman from the 4th.
The person I forgot was Jeffrey Boyd.
Oh, there we go. Any further introductions? Any further introductions? Alderman from the 10th would like to wrap us up.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, we're gathered here on September 14th. It was on this day in 1814 that Francis Scott Key penned the defense of Fort McHenry, which later became the Star-Spangled Banner. But in 1956, the first prefrontal lobotomy was performed in Washington, D.C., which upon waking up, the patient said, "I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy." Thank you.
All right. Approval of the minutes.
We have none.
Report of city officials.
Report of city officials are in A, B, and C of the agenda and can be found in the Alderman's mailbox.
We would dispense with line item 7. Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal calendars? Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal calendars? We would dispense with line items 8 through 10. Alderman from the 12th? Did you?
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to make sure I wasn't out of line. I would ask that all the special guests introduced today please take a seat in the gallery like they're supposed to, unless they're supposed to be up and roaming, which I don't believe so. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. So if you're a guest, there are seats over here that you can sit in. You can also sit in seats over here, but not along that back wall. All right. Thank you, Alderman. And you can't roam around the galleries, as you may know. First reading the board bills.
Board Bill 109, sponsored by Alderman Muhammad, an ordinance for the creation of the Disconnected Task Force Youth to study the obstacles to education and employment, to disconnect the youth in the city, and requiring said task force to compile a report of their findings and recommendations to be submitted to the mayor and the board of Aldermen, standing committee to be designated by the president of the Board of Aldermen within 1 year following the following first meeting of the task force. Board Bill 110, sponsored by Alderman Williamson, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing the issuance and delivery of $50 million principal amount of general obligation bonds series 2018 for the purposes of paying the cost of projects and the cost of issuance of such bonds, all for the general welfare, safety, and benefit of the citizens of St. Louis, containing a severability clause and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 111, sponsored by Alderwoman Howard, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission to change the zoning of property as indicated on district map from A, single-family dwelling district and F, neighborhood commercial to the F, neighborhood commercial district in the city block 5177, 5347 through 53 Nottingham, and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 112, sponsored by Alderman Coatar, an ordinance establishing a three-way stop site at the intersection of Missouri and Ann Avenue, regulating all traffic traveling southbound on Missouri at Ann and regulating all traffic traveling eastbound and westbound on Ann at Missouri, containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 113, sponsored by Alderman Vollmer, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for the 3201 Morgan Ford. Board Bill 114, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 2811 through 15 Locust. Board Bill 115, sponsored by Alderman Kennedy, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 408 through 410 North Sarah. That is the extent of first reading of board bills.
Reference to committee.
To the Public Safety Committee. Board Bill 109. To the Ways and Means Committee, Board Bill 110. To the Streets Committee, Board Bill 112. To the Neighborhood and Development Committee, Board Bill 113, 114, and 115. To the HUD's Committee, Board Bill 111. That's the extent of reference of committee.
Second reading.
The following board bill was reported out of the Legislation Committee. Board Bill 73 as amended, sponsored by Alderwomen Howard, Murphy, and Ingracia. An ordinance pertaining to conveyances of title and recording of such transfers with the Recorder of Deeds, amending Section 3 of Ordinance 56141, approved on March 23, 1972, and Ordinance 65038, approved on August 9, 2000, by removing the requirement of signature of the grantee on deeds by the sheriff of the city pursuant to court order. The following board bill was reported out of Health and Human Services. Board Bill 100, sponsored by Alderman Ornowitz, Alderwoman Ingracia, Alderwoman Green, Alderman Gunther, Alderwoman Navarro, Alderwoman Middlebrook, and Alderwoman Rice, an ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Department of Human Services by and through the City St. Louis Area Agency on Aging to accept a grant award from City Senior Services Fund in the amount of $50,000 over the next fiscal year, and to expend those funds for the City Benefits Plus program as set forth in grant award agreement attached hereto as Exhibit A and containing an emergency clause. The following board bill was reported out of the HUD's Committee. Board Bill 103, sponsored by Aldermen and Alderwomen Bosley, Middlebrook, Moore, Ingracia, Coatar, Rice, Gunther, Vollmer, Martin, Murphy, Howard, Oldenburg, Muhammad, Jeffrey Boyd, Vaccaro, Ogilvy, Cone, Williamson, Pamela Boyd, Navarro, and Green. An ordinance approved and recommended by the Board of Public Service and enacted and recommended by the Board of Public, and pursuant to Article 22 of the City Charter and Chapter 523 of Revised Statutes of Missouri, approving the use of condemnation by the City of St. Louis to acquire a site consisting of about 97 acres in North St. Louis near the intersection of Jefferson and Cass Avenues, which is owned in fee simple by LCRA Holdings Corporation, which site was chosen for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency's new NGA West facility. That is the extent of second reading.
We dispense with line items 14 through 17. Third reading, report of engrossments.
Board Bill 92 as amended, sponsored by Alderwoman Navarro, Alderman Vollmer, Alderman Vaccaro, Alderwoman Ingracia, and Alderman Gunther. An ordinance adopted pursuant to Section 70.210 through 70.325 of the Revised Statute of Missouri, authorizing and directing the City of St. Louis, a constitutional charter city of the state of Missouri, by and through its Director of Parks, Recreation, and Forestry, to execute and deliver an intergovernmental cooperation agreement by and among the city and the Art Museum Subdistrict of the Metropolitan Zoological Park and the the Museum District of the City, a political subdivision of the state of Missouri. That is the extent of third reading of report and engrossment.
Alderman from the 28th, you recognize on third reading final passage of Board Bill 92 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we finally pass Board Bill 92 as amended.
Moved by the Alderman from the 28th, seconded by the Alderman from the 12th. Any discussion?
I'll just say that this bill, we discussed it last week. This authorizes the Department of Parks to enter into an agreement to install public artwork and make street improvements in front of the Art Museum in Forest Park. So I urge everyone to support this bill.
All right. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been moved by the Alderman from the 28th, seconded by the Alderman from the 12th, that we third reading final pass Board Bill 92 as amended. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Aye. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderman Coatar. Alderwoman Rice. Alderman Gunther. Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Martin. Alderman Ornowitz. Alderwoman Murphy. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Rhodey. Alderman Kennedy. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Ogilvy. Alderman Cone. Alderman Williamson. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderwoman Navarro. President Reed.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Cone. 25 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion of the Alderwoman from 28th and third read and finally pass Board Bill 92 as amended. Is that the extent of the third
That
reading?
is the extent of third reading of
Report of Enrollment Committee.
Board Bill 92 as amended.
All other business being suspended, the President shall in open session affix his signature hereto to the end that these may become law. Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the motion for the courtesy resolutions calendar.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move for adoption of the courtesy resolution calendar.
Moved by the Alderman from the 18th, entertaining a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman from the 26th, Alderwoman from the first, you recognize.
To do a friendly amendment, Alderman Gunther and several other people had asked that their names be put on the resolution.
Oh,
so
perfect.
I just want to let the clerk know that I will be coming up afterwards and telling them the names if people wanted added.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Madam Clerk, please make note of that.
So noted.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 18th, seconded by the Alderman from the 26th, that we adopt our courtesy resolutions calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. First reading resolutions.
Resolution 101, sponsored by Alderman Boyd, Enhanced Enterprise Zone for Union Electric Company.
Alderman from the 22nd, you recognize on first reading resolution 101.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd like to move that Resolution 101 be assigned to the HUD's committee.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 22nd that we assign resolution 101 to HUD's. I entertain a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman from the 7th. Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Resolution 101 should be assigned to HUD's.
So noted. Resolution 103, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, Enterprise Zone for 4148 through 4158 Manchester investors.
Alderman from the 17th, you recognize on the first reading of resolution 103.
Yes, Mr. President, I request that we assign that to HUD's committee, please.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 17th, seconded by the Alderman from the 22nd, that we assign resolution 103 to HUD's committee. Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please make note of that.
So
Resolution 103 assigned to HUD's.
So noted. Resolution 104, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, a resolution for the authority to establish guidelines with regard to the terms of such real estate tax abatement for residential properties with new investment of less than $1 million based on established criteria.
Alderman from the 17th, you recognize on the first reading of Resolution 104.
Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Resolution 104.
Yep, Mr. President, move that, request that go to the committee, HUD's committee, please.
It's been moved by Alderman from the 17th, seconded by Alderman from the 22nd, that we assign Resolution 104 to HUD's. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Sign Resolution 104 to HUD's.
So noted. Resolution 129, sponsored by Alderman Muhammad, Gateway Arch renaming and rededication in the honor of Percy Green II.
Alderman from the 21st, you recognize on the first reading of Resolution 129.
Hey, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask that Resolution 129 be referred to the Intergovernment Affairs Committee.
Been moved by the Alderman from the 21st. Entertain a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman from the 12th. That we assign Resolution 129, Intergovernmental Affairs. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That is the extent of first reading of resolution.
All right. Second reading resolutions.
Having considered the mayor's appointment of Carl Wilson to the Senior Services Board, the Health and Human Services Committee voted to recommend that the board approve Mr. Wilson's appointment.
Alderman from the 12th, you recognize on the second reading resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Mr. Carl Wilson met with the Health and Human Services Committee the other day, and I think all of our questions were answered. So at this time, I'm asking for the appointment of Mr. Carl Wilson to the Senior Services Board.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 12th that we take up the mayor's appointments to the Health and Human Services Committee. It's been moved and then seconded by the Alderman from the 13th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Miscellaneous unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
Friday, September the 21st, full board meeting at 10 a.m. in the chambers.
Any further announcements? Any further? Alderman from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, this Sunday, the 16th of September, the Coatar American Legion Post on the Hill at the corner of Bischoff and Edwards is having their annual spring or fall barbecue. Thank you. Starts 11 in the morning to around 6 in the evening. There'll be plenty of things to do. Come on by. I'll be behind the pits from 6 in the morning. If you want to come by early to help me, feel free. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 28th.
Thank you, Mr. President. This weekend is the Great Forest Park Balloon Race in Forest Park. It's a fabulous free event open to everybody. You can get there by the metro, by bike. It should be a wonderful evening tonight. It starts at 6 with the glow, and tomorrow at noon festivities start, and then there will be the race in the afternoon. So everyone, please come out and join us.
All right, excellent. Alderman from the 7th.
Mr. President, members of the board, in addition to the balloon glow this weekend, St. Raymond's, our wonderful Lebanese parish in the 7th Ward, is hosting their annual Lebanese Festival. You'll see Mary Cullens working all weekend, hard at work out there. I'll be there. This Irishman will be perfecting his Lebanese dance moves in the afternoon. So come on by and enjoy some food and some beer, some Lebanese beers, and some dancing.
Alderman from the 26th.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, I'd like to announce a resident of 26th Ward as my special guest today, Mrs. Rogers is over here, Mrs. George Roberts. Appreciate it, thank you.
Any further? Alderman from the 14th.
I would like to remind people that Gravois, Bevo Mill area will be hosting Mexican Independence Day on Sunday from noon till 9 p.m. In street festival fashion, hosted by our newly opened Mexican restaurants on the Gravois Strip, primarily Del Gato. So if you come by, enjoy everything's $5. Margaritas, tacos, everything's $5. So come by and enjoy some Mexican celebration. Thank you, and food.
Thank you. Alderwoman from the 1st.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd like to announce that the Penrose Annual Picnic will be this Saturday out in the park all day. It was last week or the week before, but it got pushed back to this week because of the weather. I invite people to come out and picnic and meet with the residents and the people who come back to enjoy fellowship with the people who live in the Penrose neighborhood, the neighborhood of choice. Thank you.
All right. Alderwoman from the 8th, you ready?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to invite everyone out to South Grand Fall Festival on Saturday, taking place from 11 a.m. until 8 p.m. Down South Grand and some of our side streets north of Utah. And also just pause to recognize Rachel Witt, the director of the South Grand Community Improvement District, and her hospitality award that she received yesterday.
All right. Thank you. Alderman from the 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to send a special happy birthday, belated birthday, to another one of our own, Kara Spencer, who celebrated her birthday this week.
Wow. Happy birthday. Any further announcements? Alderman from 21st?
Hey, thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. This Saturday, tomorrow, the Board of Aldermen will be participating in Peace Fest, hosted by Better Family Life in partnership with the Urban League, and we will be competing in a softball game. I look forward to seeing the Alderman from the 7th Ward hit a winning swing for me, as well as the President, and that starts tomorrow at 5:30 at Bell Fountain Park, right off of Bell Fountain Road, and I will hope that all of our colleagues come out and join us.
We need the Alderman from the 16th, who is a baseball player. We need him to show. Alderman from the 16th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, there is a lot going on this weekend, and no better way to start it than tomorrow morning with a little exercise. St. Louis Hills, the Run for the Hills. It's about the 20th anniversary that we've been doing this. It's a 5K stroll or run around the park in the neighborhood of St. Louis Hills. Please stop on by and check that out before you get heading out to all the other festivities. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 18th.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd like to call a Public Safety Committee meeting for next Thursday at 10 a.m. to hear Board Bill 105 and a presentation from Robert Clemens, the Chief Technology Officer.
Madam Clerk, did you make note of that?
So noted.
Next Thursday? All right, thank you. Anything further? Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the motion to excuse.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move that the Alderman from the 19th, 23rd, and 25th be excused for necessary absence.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 18th, seconded by the Alderman from the 26th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move that the board adjourns until Friday, September 21st, 10 a.m.
Moved by the Alderman from the 18th, seconded by the Alderman from the 26th. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, stand adjourned.
Maybe because this one.